to his friend Caninius Rufus. It has recently been announced that Silius Italicus has committed suicide by starvation in his villa at Naples. His reason for dying was his illness. He had developed an incurable tumor, and the weariness it in the weariness it thus caused him to hasten his death with resolute determination. Until the day of his death, his life was happy and successful, except that he lost the younger of his two children. However, his elder son, the better of the two, is doing well and has in fact attained the consulship. Silius has besmirched his reputation under Nero, for it was believed that he voluntarily turned informer, but after becoming a friend of Vitellius, he had conducted himself in a prudent of genial way. He had gained distinction as consul of Asia. He had erased the stain of his former busy activity in past fertilizer. He became one of the most prominent figures in the state, but without the exercising power of incurring odium. People paid early morning visit to him and cultivated him. For much of the time he lay on his couch, and invariably spent the days in his room, attended by many with a thought of his wealth, and when not occupied with writing, indulging in highly learned conversation. He composed poetry with greater diligence than genius, and on several occasions he held recitations to submit his writings to the judgment of others. Was recently, at the appointing of his years, he retired from Rome and settled in Campania. He did not budge from he did not budge from there even on the accession of the new emperor. This was much to Caesar's credit for allowing such license, and to Silius also for presuming to exploit such freedom. He was unconcerned to the point of being criticized for his mania for buying. He owned a number of villas in the same region. He would fall in love with his new purchases and neglect the former ones. In every place he had many books, many statues, and many busts. He not merely possessed but also referred them, especially those of Virgil, whose birthday he would celebrate with greater devotion than his own, and above all that at Naples, when he used to visit Virgil's tomb as if it were a shrine. He enjoyed this peaceful existence beyond his 75th year, being frail rather than feeble in body. He was the last. He was the last to be chosen as consul by Nero, and he was likewise the last to die of all those whom Nero had made consuls. Who, what is also noteworthy is that he was the last of Nero's consulars to die, and Nero died when he was consul. And as I recall this, I am struck with pity and for the frailty of the human condition. What is so confined and short, even the longest life of man? You must think that it is not time since Nero was still with us. Yet, meanwhile, not one of those who held the consulship under him, he remained alive. Yet, why do I find this surprising? Not long ago, Lucius Piso, father of the Piso who was killed in Africa by Valerius Festus, by despicable deed, used to say that in the Senate he did not see one of those whom as consul he had called upon for their opinions. Within such narrow limits is the lifespan of such a huge number confined, that the celebrated tears of sexes seem not merely pardonable but also praiseworthy. For we are told when we when for we are told that when that king surveyed his mammoth army, he wept at the thought of the early death of hanging so many thousands. But if it is not granted to us to spend our fragile and fleeting days on famous deeds, for the opportunity for this life is in another's hands, let us all the more devote it at last to writing, and in so far as long life is denied to us, let us beget something to attest to what we have lived. I know that you do not lack the spur, but nonetheless my regard for you summons me to urge on even a galloping horse, as you likewise often urge me. La lutte c'est bonne. when friends pull on each other by mutual exhortation to embrace the love of immortality. Farewell.